Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Pam, and if we're meeting for the first time, I am so glad you're here. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of diving straight into tips and swaps, I wanted to take a few minutes to share a little about me, why green living matters so much to me, and what actually motivates me to make choices that are safer for my family and the planet. Because I think context matters, and I think you'll understand where I'm coming from a whole lot better after this. So let me take you back to what was honestly my favorite job I've ever had. For over 10 years, I worked as a program manager in conservation education at the National Zoo, and it was everything. I got to help educate the public about endangered species and their habitats in faraway places like Namibia and China. I got to watch people's faces when they learned something that genuinely surprised them. I got to be a part of something that felt important, and I got to walk by cheetahs on my way to work every single morning. Cheetahs are my absolute favorite animal. And yes, I'm aware that's a very specific opinion to have strongly, but there is nothing like it. If you've ever stood close to a cheetah, I highly recommend finding a way to make that happen. But here's the thing that stuck with me more than the cheetahs, and that's saying something. Working in conservation education meant spending a lot of time thinking about what we stand to lose, the frailty of ecosystems, the animals that are disappearing, the habitat shrinking, the world changing in ways that are hard to reverse. I came home from that job every day carrying that knowledge and genuinely caring about doing something about it. Then baby number 3 arrived and the math stopped working and I became a stay-at-home mom, which I loved. But I won't pretend the transition from walking past cheetahs every morning to 3 kids under 4 was entirely smooth. For the first few years, I just survived, and that was enough. Anyone who has 3 kids under 4 knows exactly what I mean. But when I finally came up for air, when I could think in complete sentences again, that passion for doing my part to make the world a better place came alive again, loudly. And I became what I can only describe as an eager eco mom. Let me tell you about the eager eco mom phase. I started Googling everything: how to go green at home, how to reduce your plastic footprint, how to live more sustainably. I was plowing ahead full speed, getting rid of tons of plastic without knowing what to replace it with, researching solar panels, trying every random tip I came across. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick. And you know what? Almost none of it stuck. I felt frustrated, overwhelmed, like I was spinning my wheels and making no real progress at all. And I remember the moment I finally stopped and thought, okay, this is not working. Why is this not working? And the answer was actually really simple. I didn't have the time or the bandwidth to do more. I was a mom of 3. I had a full life. Adding a complete environmental overhaul on top of that was never going to last. What I actually had time for was an upgrade to the habits I already had: the grocery runs, the kitchen routine, the way I cleaned, the way I cooked, and make them slightly greener, one small tweak at a time. That shift changed everything. Once I stopped trying to overhaul my entire life and started focusing on the things I was already doing, making changes got so much easier. All it really took was a little bit of knowledge, a small shift in perspective, and a slight shift in behavior. I went from eager eco mom to what I now proudly call master eco mom. Not because I do everything perfectly, but because I've figured out a way to make it actually work in a real life with a real family. And speaking of my real family, my kids are now 19, 21, and 22. And let me tell you, they have rolled their eyes at me for years. The groaning, the dramatic sighs when I suggest a swap, the looks they exchange when mom starts talking about plastic again. But every now and again, I catch one of them doing something eco friendly completely on their own, unprompted, without being asked. And honestly, that's the whole thing right there. That's why I do this. I want to pass this along to them, and I want them to pass it along to their kids, not as a burden or a lecture, just a quiet awareness, a habit of paying attention. Same life, just a little more intentional. So that's why I'm here every week. Not because I have it all figured out, not because I'm extreme or crunchy or living off the grid. I'm very much buying my groceries at Target. But because I've spent years figuring out how to make this work in a real life, and I genuinely want to share what I've learned so you don't have to spend years figuring it out yourself. You already care. I know you do because you're here. And that's the whole thing. No time to do more, only time for an upgrade. And that's really what Greenlee's philosophy is all about. And that's what I hope every episode gives you, one small upgrade that you can actually use. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found this. Hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, and grab my free real life mom's guide to green kitchen habits that I'll link in the show notes. It's 20 simple habits, none of them extreme. And if you've been here a while, thank you, genuinely. Knowing you're out there listening every week is what keeps me showing up. So until then, you already care. I'll show you what to do about it. Talk to you soon.